evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Chopping Block. On today's night's episode, we're going to talk about Lockport, its local lore, and its connection to the mob and prohibition. I am Frank. This is Heather. Behind the cameras, we have Tim and we have John, and we are in the glorious haunted Western Block doing our little show.
Lockport, New York.
In Lockport, New York, right in the hub, right across from the Erie Canal, right where a lot of things went on.
Yes.
So, tonight we are going to be in, I can't remember the name of the word I'm looking for, but anyway, going back to our Italian roots, we're going to make some Italian goulash tonight. We're going to use some ground beef, some Italian sausage, some red pepper, some onion, which Heather is going to be cutting up right now so we get this rolling, and we're going to use some tomato sauce and some beef broth to get everything going. As we go, I'm going to put the sausage in and the beef to get this rolling here. So, and as we're Heather, can you actually talk and work at the same time?
I will give my best.
All right. So, can you let me know what we know about the Lockport area and its connection to prohibition and things like that? And let's get this thing rolling. What do we know about this?
So, we do know prohibition happened in the 20s.
Correct.
And
Do we know the dates of prohibition?
it was 21 to
33. 1920 to
yes.
1933.
20 to 33.
Correct. I'm just helping you out a little bit. As soon as you are done cutting that, you can throw that right into this and get this rolling right away. So tell us what else. So we know that prohibition was 1920 to 1933. We know Lockport, with its proximity to the canal, was a hub for
a lot of different smuggling of alcohol.
Was it just alcohol, or was it other illicit goods as well?
There were some other illicit goods, a lot of cigarettes.
Right.
And, they had their fair share of some interesting things. Do you recall any of those?
So where would these guys be smuggling these things? Would they be smuggling them because of the proximity to the canal? Where would be the destination for these places?
During Prohibition, we know that a lot of alcohol is moving from Canada into the States.
Okay.
And they would utilize both the rail and snail to move alcohol from points along the border into the rest of the state.
That's actually pretty good. We could dump some of that in here now, and then you can cut that pepper up.
Do we want some of this? Choppy.
Don't cut your finger, please.
I got my finger right out of the way.
Heather is learning how to cook. This is all, as well as us teaching you what to bring with you on different investigations or different, what's the word I'm looking for? Different adventures that you have. We're also teaching Heather how to cook. That's good. Can we do the pepper too now?
We can.
So with this goulash, I'm messing everything all up. So with the goulash, again, it's another one of those make-ahead dishes you can put in. You can take it with you. You can make it ahead. You can make it for your own supper. You can have it for, I'm putting some, it calls for thyme and oregano and basil, but I'm just going to use some Italian seasoning, which has all of that in there for the sake of time. But again, all of these recipes are going to be on the site, so you'll be able to see them, make them yourselves, take them with you wherever you go, whether it's a paranormal investigation, whether it's camping, whether it's to, just anywhere you can put it, take your hotel. So that being said, tell me more about what type of goods and where the destinations would be and how these things were moved around. And a little bit, if you know, a little bit of who was actually in control and ran those types of things.
Well, there was one major key player that was in control of a lot of the organized crime.
Okay.
And Lockport had its own, illicit activities.
Right.
We do know that lots of Italians came to the area to work on building a canal.
Right.
And when they did that, they ended up forming a very tight-knit community nearby, right on the other side of the block here.
Okay.
Right on the other side of Exchange Street, and it was known as Little Italy.
I was just going to say, let me guess. Lockport's own Little Italy, right?
Yep.
All right,
sure
okay,
was.
so here we go.
Yeah, and so They all, worked on the canal, and
Right.
it's said that they also had a hand in helping to move around a lot of this,
Of the illicit goods?
that flowed through.
right,
But
you
the
can put those
major
peppers right in.
person who was doing, was in control.
Well, let me do this real quick. So instead of major person, who was the major
major family.
family? Correct.
major family, well, it
This way
was-
we're not, implicating just one person, and, we want to make everybody mad.
well, we know Magadino.
The Magadino family?
Yes,
Okay.
was the key player in overseeing a lot of the distribution
Okay.
of these goods throughout the entire area.
Okay.
So, and a lot of these goods flowed throughout the entire state.
Then they
this
also
would,
they also had influence in Canada and other places as well, right?
Yeah.
So now, as well as the rail and the canal, he also had influence with the Teamsters and the trucking units and the trucking industry and things like that. So he was able to really move his stuff around
Yeah.
quite easily.
Yep.
There's also rumors that we've found. We've just started to dive into this research, so can't confirm everything, but there's also some rumors out there that Western
Stories
Bloc,
passed down.
stories passed down, antidotes, that the
Antidotes,
Western Bloc itself
notes.
actually had a hand in some of these things. Can you explain to us exactly why they would think or come to that conclusion as to why Western Bloc could have been a
hub for the storing of
hub for
alcohol?
storing or a minor player, that type of thing?
So
And I
we
think I screwed up. I
know-
think I needed a bigger pot.
But that looks delicious. Well, before we get into that, tell us what you just poured in there.
So, I mixed in the Italian sausage and the ground beef. We browned that all up. We added the peppers and the onions. And I just poured 2 cans of beef broth and a can of tomato soup. I'm sorry. A can of tomato sauce and 2 cans of beef broth. And we're going to let that simmer. We're going to let that get hot. And then when we do that, we're going to pour in our noodles and let it all thicken up a little bit. And that will be the Italian goulash.
Do you add cheese to Italian goulash?
At the end, if you would like, you could use a little bit of a Parmesan cheese. I don't particularly like to, but you can. I'm a hot sauce kind of person, so I add hot sauce to my stuff.
I always thought goulash was just cheese, beef, and macaroni.
Well, there's that. All right, so give us a little bit more information as to why they could think that the Western Bloc could be a
Well,
major to minor to medium type of player in these types of things.
right. So we know that they needed spots to store the alcohol as it was distributed around, the different
Right.
areas. And it is said that they stored them in small spots, residences, in warehouses, in
Ice
different
houses too, I
ice
heard, so,
houses,
yep.
Yep. So a lot of different unique areas, but one of the major interesting facts about this property is that there is a massive amount of storage area. Storage area with some hard to get to rooms.
Okay. Hidden rooms, sort of, so to
areas,
speak.
yes, that have some unique ways of getting to them.
Hidden
some
doors, hidden trap
hidden
doors.
staircases that lift up.
Right. That's an interesting one.
Very, very. And we also know from the director's own journals that they had a barrel maker, their own
Really?
barrel maker at the time. And we know the director himself came from a family that loved to make alcohol.
Yeah, they
Different
were-
kind of alcohol goods.
Weren't they?
Interesting.
As you can see in front of us, we have a REM pod. We had that on one of our other shows, and we really weren't getting much, but we've got it out there just to see what happens. And on that, I don't know if that is the temperature changing or if that's an actual hit, because this will, monitor temperature and such as that. Usually temperature is gauged by a sound, but we turn that sound off, so we don't exactly know what it could be. But one thing we do know about this building is when we start talking about prohibition and the mob and mafia and things like that,
Starts to get active
it
here.
starts to get active and things start to get a little goofy. So getting back to Western Bloc and its
Yes.
role in possibly helping out with these illicit activities and
Yeah.
what we know about the Keenans and their family and what they did back in North Carolina. Let's discuss Manganino's reach. How far and what did how far was his reach and what did he run and what was he part of?
We know it spanned from Canada all the way to New York City, and he utilized different trucking routes. He was in control of different trucking routes
Right.
that helped to move this alcohol around. And, oddly enough, there was a lot of trucks that got pulled over in the Lockport area, Ransomville area, that caught to the tune of $10,000 worth of alcohol and $12,000 worth of alcohol.
That was Canadian whiskey at one point, wasn't it?
Yes.
Right,
And
okay.
back in the day, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it
That's
was.
a pot of alcohol to
sure
be
was.
legally moving around.
Yes, it is.
So yeah, they controlled a lot of the Teamsters actually.
Correct. We don't know what the local number was, but we do know it was a Teamsters trucking union that he
yeah.
controlled, so to speak, that way.
Yep.
So find a little bit more about Manganino, his family. He was part of the 5 families of New York City. His territory, obviously, I believe, was up in here. He ran Buffalo, Niagara Falls, Lockport area, all of that stuff. He was also one of the major players at the Appalachian meeting in Appalachian, New York, when all the families got together and had their big giant powwow and got caught up there. So he had a large hand in a lot of different things. He was well connected, highly respected, very high up in the number of families there were, which is pretty interesting for this area.
Very. And I mean, to get that kind of power and to have that kind of connection, especially with the trucking routes,
Yep.
you have to soften the politics of the area, soften the oversight, soften the people who are playing a role in trying to prevent prohibition alcohol from being moved around.
So what do we know about, and not just him, but in general, what do we know about that era and politicians and police and things like that?
A lot of corruption.
Okay.
A ton of
correct.
corruption.
Right.
So, the question we've always had here with having a police department on the property at the time of Prohibition was, did they know alcohol was being moved around this area, or
Were they helping?
were they helping?
Did they just turn a blind eye? Were they enforcement hand? Were they part of the enforcement hand?
Right. And then who stayed in the cells on site
Right.
that were a part of the distribution of alcohol?
So not only did they distribute alcohol, they were also into other illicit different things, but
Yeah.
they also had front businesses for all of these things.
Yeah. Yep.
So something I have found out, and I don't know if you want to lead into it, but with the Buffalo Niagara type of connection, especially from here to Buffalo, right on straight down transit, right at the hub of here.
Yes. Yep. The how great is your great grandfather?
How great is my great grandfather?
I heard he was a bit of a player in some things that occurred during this time.
In some references, there is, yes. There's been many references to him being an enforcer, him being a smuggler, him being part of what's going on, running back and forth. I do know that from research and with, talking with family about certain things, that him and his father had come back and forth from Italy 2 or 3 times before he actually settled here. But there's no record. He had nothing, so to speak. So there's really not a lot of documentation to go on as far as what we got. Right. So that would be my great-great-grandfather. Right. Even with my great-grandfather, there's not a ton of documentation. It's a lot of anecdotal stuff, a lot of stuff passed down word of mouth from family to family to know who this, know who that, blah, blah, blah. Right. At one point, the one cousin I was talking to, he said, if you had ever seen the movie A Bronx Tale, and you remember when Sonny gets out of his car, how everybody flocks to him, he said that was his grandfather. Wherever they went, he'd get out of the car and people would flock to him and be like, hey, blah, blah, blah.
How you doing?
I'm like, all right, well, that's pretty interesting that that's part of the family. Right. And The more interesting part of that is the fact that it took me 50 years to even find out about that side of the family because of the way things went when we were younger. They're Italian. My father's mother was Polish. That did mesh back in the 1920s,
Right.
1930s. So they didn't do a lot of that stuff.
Right.
So, but he was involved in a lot of, they believe he was involved in a lot of illicit activities, such as the smuggling, such as the whatchamacallit, the running, whatever, guns, whatever it was. We do know that him and his father both ran a brothel in Lancaster. Girls upstairs, liquor downstairs. So had a pretty interesting past that I didn't really know about, which is pretty cool in finding this stuff out. What really is trying to pull me in now is the fact that whether or not he was actually set foot in this building to do things. Because if he ran back and forth through Lockport, there's a good chance because of the speakeasy was here.
And we
because
know
of
he
the-
had some Lockport connection.
Absolutely. We just don't know whether or not. I'm going to try to find
How
out.
deep that connection is yet.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's been pretty interesting to find out a lot about that stuff. He did, like I said, his father ran numbers, they ran a lot of different things. He was pretty well connected, pretty well made.
And his father made the newspaper at one point, didn't he?
Yes, he was sent to, and actually we just found this out, so we are going to look up he was sent to the Erie County Penitentiary for 1 year. We don't know for what or where, but on the census, it says he worked in the tailor shop. So we will find out. We're going to go to the Buffalo Historical Society and find out some of that information and hopefully start making connections.
Was the newspaper article something about bootlegging?
It did not say. It just said he would. It just said he just did a year in the penitentiary. So we're not really sure.
But it was the people, if I'm not mistaken, it listed a bunch of people for bootlegging that was caught.
There were numerous people. They didn't say specifically him, but it was, and I don't know if that was all of them that got caught, and that's how he got in there. It could be. We're going to find that out.
So fascinating.
They were used in a lot of aliases. I know my great-grandfather got caught. He got busted in a poker game in Pennsylvania, and he gave the alias as John. So we don't know. I mean, who knows? It's very interesting. So, getting back to Lockport, tell us a little bit more about the area here and how they move things and what made it so easy for them to move things from where they were and not get caught to distribute them onto the canal and things.
Well, I mean, the canal system is quite expansive, but the barge canals were a very readily available, easy, and quiet way for them to ship the alcohol down and up and across the state. So that was something they heavily used, and it was easily accessible because all you had to do is go to the water's edge, canal edge, and do your thing really fast, and then they're going again.
So what did they utilize throughout Lockport to get the stuff there so they couldn't get busted? Or let's just say it was harder for them to get busted because we all know eventually you catch on and stuff.
Right. As part of that canal system, there was a system of waterways and hydraulics that allowed ships to go from the lower canal to the upper canal, and that's how they were able to traverse that's what the locks were. But these components of the locks also had these waterways along the side called raceways. And these raceways were a unique way for them to power the different properties all along the canal, all hydropower, early 1900s. Fascinating and ingenuitive.
Absolutely.
However, by the 1920s and 30s, they were able to utilize some of these waterway systems, especially one right over here off the Exchange Street portion. And they were able to help move some of that liquor around.
So what did they do off of the Exchange Street portion here? What was their?
We know that there was a brewery at the top of the ridge, and there was a spring that was turned into part of the raceway system. And if you guys can't tell,
They must like what we're talking about. They either like what we're talking about or they don't like what
what
we're
you're talking about.
You liked our goulash, and I don't know what they're doing, but
Or do you want us to be quiet? Are you trying to drown us out?
You're trying to drown us out. You're trying to shut us up. Is that what this is? It's a little late for
The
that
REM
now.
pod's going off.
This is a little late for that now. I'm glad that we're getting something off of that because it's nice to know. I mean, it's one of those devices that really doesn't give you a lot of information, doesn't give you a lot of stuff. It just kind of sits there and everyone's like, ooh and ah, but it doesn't do anything. So it's nice that the lights have been blinking and
This brewery at the top of the hill, they were able to utilize part of the spring that got turned into the raceway system and drop barrels in and move alcohol through and down from up there quietly through that system. Which the spring ran under this building, through this building, and they were able to access that.
So they could have actually had people in this building working for whoever at the time and catching barrels, dropping barrels in the raceway from on top, catching them underground in here, and then shipping them, putting them on trucks and shipping them anywhere they wanted to because they were caught underground and it wasn't
out in the open. Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that's another way that you could use that trucking system that Maganino had.
Yes.
They could have caught all the barrels in, boom, boom, boom. So one question, you were in the basement of this place one day.
Yes.
What did you find in the basement?
I found a barrel.
How big?
It wasn't a big barrel, about this size.
About yay big?
About yay big, not the massive ones that you see, but we know that they used all sorts of different barrels.
So now the question is, now that you say that, because now I really didn't have a reference point, so now the reference point would be about this big, so you're looking about maybe a quarter keg, give or take.
Yep.
Do you think that instead of making big, huge 55-gallon barrels, they made smaller quarter kegs that were easily concealed and easily hidden into different ship parts or compartments within those trucking things that they could slide out? So if they do get pulled over, you open it up and I've got shipping parts in here and I don't have barrels of liquor?
Absolutely, because it makes more sense that they would have contained liquor instead of the parts that they were making at the time, because the parts they were making at the time ranged from like a decent size to massive ton-sized blocks and tackle and pulleys and wheels.
And those blocks and tackles
require much larger containers.
Okay.
So it makes more sense that they wouldn't have been shipping or making these small barrels for parts that would require bigger things.
So basically it was easier to make quarter kegs instead of 55-gallon barrels so they could hide them in the trucks, as I said earlier.
Yes.
Beautiful. Oh.
We have a special delivery going on.
Thank you.
We have bowls.
So what I'm going to do is, this is considerably almost ready. I'm going to put some in here so we can show it to you in the camera.
Ooh, that looks so good.
And again, this is something you can take with you. You can make this up ahead of time, put it in a slow cooker.
Keep it in a crock pot.
Keep it in a crock pot in your hotel room. You can do anything you really want with it. You can make it up for your own dinner. You can take it at any kind of picnic.
It's so good.
All that stuff. So it's all these meals are simple, easy, on the go, take with you. Again, we are going to be going to a new location. Actually, we're going to a speaking engagement is where we're going to be going to. And the food is really not too well, so we're going to take a few of these meals with us. We may be even showcasing them a little bit as we go.
Chop the onions.
As we go, and look, you chopped the onions and you didn't cut your finger. That's fantastic. Look, it's a beautiful thing. So this meal, as you can see, all these meals take within 25 minutes. Quick, easy, simple ingredients. However you want to do it, you can add to your own. I mean, we just use peppers and onions in this. You can use green pepper, you can use red pepper, you can use hot peppers, you can use whatever you want to spice it up, however you want to do it.
Did you add spice, or did you just use black pepper?
Nope, I use salt, pepper, and the spices. Yep, I use Italian seasoning.
Nice. There you go.
I know you were chopping, so you didn't let you
Nope,
couldn't hear what I was
not
saying.
paying attention.
Right, that's what I thought. I know. We don't want her to cut her finger off, so we let her not do two things at one time. So.
That looks good.
So in summary, what would your opinion be of Lockport and their connection and the possibility that this facility itself had a connection to all the illicit running and things like that?
We know it definitely was a hub for moving liquor from Canada through the States.
Right.
And as far as this property itself, there's great indications that this was one of the key players, just because of the access to the canal and the massive amount of space and some of the different indicators that we've come across here.
So here's a quick question. We're going to make this quick because we only have a few more minutes left. I understand that. So a quick question to me, and for you, to me is, so we know that Mr. Keenan was a very successful businessman.
Yes.
What, in your opinion, and again, this is just opinion, this is not based on any kind of facts or research or anything like that, what, in your opinion, would make such a successful businessman run or help run or be involved with something illicit? And make it quick because we only got 2 minutes.
I think it was just his family connection.
That's
you
it?
know? Yep. His family, when he grew up, the way he grew up, he was a Southern boy, and he grew up with his family that made different kind of alcohols.
Right.
So,
and they would make it right on their properties. They had
Yeah.
their own stills and everything else.
so by the time Prohibition came around, it's that kind of mentality. Well, you can't tell me not to make something that is totally ingrained in what I, grew up doing.
Right.
Who's to tell me I can't make this?
All right, it makes a lot of sense.
That's my opinion.
On top of the fact that you can make a boatload of money under the table.
There is that, and I'm sure he did.
I'm sure he probably did. There's no doubt. Well, we hope you enjoyed this show. We're going to start to wrap it up now. But as we like to say here at the Chopping Block,
Unlike the people that fell into the raceway, or thrown
into the raceway,
we
we want you to come back for the next episode. Thanks again to Tim and John behind the cameras. I'm Frank, this is Heather. Thank you for watching. Have a great night.